Good evening and welcome. It's Sunday, August 2nd, 2026, and you are watching Last Week Today. We're a compilation of the most important stories of the week from both legacy and new media. My name is Chuck Black, and my partner in the spotlight tonight is Richard Gagnon. Richard, you look all white.
Yes, I know. That sun is just shining so brightly into here today.
You're in Vancouver. You said
No.
that some of the... I'm sorry, BC, British Columbia.
Yeah.
And you said there's some fires within a couple hours of you.
Yep, Vernon apparently is surrounded by fires. You can't get in, you can't get out, but there's people still living there. So
there's not a need for evacuation yet.
Well, they have been evacuating. People have been evacuating. They're just not going to be allowed back in again.
I see. But the people who are in there have decided they're going to stay and protect the town.
But protect the city. It's not a town. It's a city.
How big is Vernon?
There's quite a few people living there, but it is a city now.
Fair enough. I'm spoiled rotten because I spent most of my life in really big cities.
Yeah. There's probably close to 1 million people, but I don't think it's 1 million people in Vernon.
No, I agree with that. Want to go on to our first piece?
Sure. Let's find out what's been going on here.
This is an oldie and a goodie coming back to haunt us again after 6 years. Fauci in the Senate. On Wednesday, July 29th, just a couple of days ago, former National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases Director Dr. Anthony Fauci appeared under subpoena before the Senate Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee, chaired by, Fauci's arch nemesis, Senator Rand Paul, a Republican from Kentucky, who's been beating up on Fauci ever since COVID. Now, the hearing focused on COVID-19 origins, U.S.-funded gain-of-function research that created COVID-19, Fauci's public statements versus his private communications on COVID-19, and it focused highly on newly released pages from his pandemic era personal diary. There was over 1,100 pages released by the committee shortly before everyone got together to meet. Now, as outlined in the July 29th Epoch Times post, Fauci invokes Fifth Amendment more than 100 times during Senate COVID hearings. And according to the Epoch Times and a whole bunch of other news outlets, the retired physician and former chief medical advisor to the President of the United States invoked his Fifth Amendment rights against self-incrimination more than 100 times during his testimony on Wednesday. Now, he stated he was acting on advice of counsel, invoking his Fifth Amendment's rights because he believed the hearing's purpose was to create a perjury trap or else support longstanding calls by some Republicans for his prosecution and conviction, especially Rand Paul, whose interest was categorized as an unhinged obsession. Rand Paul wants to drag Anthony Fauci to justice. Now, on the other hand, most of the questions from Paul and others related to the seeming dichotomy between Fauci's well-known public statements on the COVID-19 pandemic and what he wrote in his personal diary. A copy of it's right here. We're going to include the link to the personal diary in the show notes. You'll be able to read everything. Now, Fauci's private reflections of the period from 2019 to 2022 are included in this book, and they show a lot of early scientific uncertainty about COVID-19 origins. They show a lot of frustration with media attention, a lot of enjoyment of media attention, actually, as well. A lot of political pressure, a lot of notes about internal disagreements over policy, and some flat-out contradictions to many of Fauci's public statements. Now, according to Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., his agency extracted the content from government computers, some of which had been formally erased. They were all compiled together and then handed over to Rand Paul's GOP-led committee. Now, Republicans used the session on Wednesday to criticize pandemic policies, criticize the original lab leak hypotheses, which were dubbed conspiracy theories, even though they later turned out to be correct. They criticized alleged inconsistencies and sometimes lies that were acknowledged as lies in Fauci's writing. Democrats, on the other hand, defended Fauci's long public service and called the hearing partisan theater. Now, at the close of the hearing on Wednesday, Paul announced the committee would vote sometime around August 5th on whether or not to hold Fauci in contempt of Congress for refusing to explain why he evidently lied in public. He knew he lied in public. It's written in his diaries. Now, as outlined in the July 30th X overview of the situation, under the title Fauci Diaries Release Fuels Pandemic Role Debate, that post suggested while some continue to portray Fauci as a hero, there's a lot of critics who accuse him of inconsistencies on virus origin, mask usage, appropriate treatments, hydrochloroquine, I believe, and gain of function research. Obviously, at this point, linked to Wuhan, not a wet market. Many are calling for accountability, despite U.S. President Joe Biden's 2025 pardon, and the release highlights enduring divides over lockdowns, mandates, and trust in the pandemic handling. From my personal situation, 2 weeks to flatten the curve. That was obvious bullshit. We were locked down for a year and a half. Now, as noted in the July 29th Alex Jones post on the topic under the title, Watch, Trump says he'll respect Biden's pardon of Fauci. It's worth noting that the current U.S. president says even though former U.S. President Biden likely used an auto pen for Fauci's unusual preemptive pardon, those pardons remain a powerful presidential tool that requires tremendous evidence. This is what Trump said. Tremendous evidence is needed to overturn these pardons. Richard, I know you got a lot to say about this.
Fauci's diarrhea.
He said the same thing over and over again. Near as I can tell from the accounts, his lawyer was kicked out because his lawyer was disrupting the proceedings.
Yes, of course. Yeah. So Fauci was. I've always said that ever since he started sticking his nose into all this, he was lying. I always said he was lying. Now he's coming out and he's refusing to admit that he was lying because he's saying, no, I don't have to say that.
There's some really obvious prima facie evidence that he was lying. Private diary statements that flatly contradict public statements made during the same period of time.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Things about the 6-foot distancing rule, the need to wear or not wear masks, the efficacy of the COVID-19 vaccines, all sorts of bizarro things. It's well worth noting that he caught COVID twice after taking the vaccine and insisted that this meant he'd never get the disease again.
Yeah, and all of a sudden, I got it again.
Yeah, just completely ludicrous shit.
Yep. Yeah, I've got a number of funny stories about that 2020 stuff this week.
Give an overview. I think this is like such crap. Everybody knows Fauci's lying. Fauci says it's because we're all out to get him.
And everybody's starting to realize, those who were sucked in to the agenda are starting to realize we were lied to. Oh
Yes, I mean,
no!
nothing gets past these people.
Oh,
Uh,
the government doesn't lie. Oh yes, it does.
I think I'm easygoing. I find that it's better late than never.
That's right.
The ones that concern me are the ones who are even now dead set on defending a man who was obviously out to get them.
Yep. Fauci is out to kill people, and he's even with his beagles. That's what he was doing. He's killing his beagles in this research.
Ouch.
Um,
I heard that as well. That's a terrible story.
oh yeah, when I saw that story, what about just around the time that Fauci was becoming more in the news, all of a sudden this story comes out, and I'm sitting there. Oh, this guy is nasty. He's mean. He's Hitler. He's a Nazi. He's a killer.
I
And he
agree.
doesn't care. And he doesn't care.
No, he doesn't care. He likes having people around him. The diary made it clear that he liked having people around him who worshipped him.
Yes.
He liked being in the public face of what was going on, and he absolutely craved a certain amount of power.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
My only concern about this story is that it was surprisingly difficult to find stories about it in the legacy media. It was surprisingly difficult to find any sort of stories about this, even using various AI programs to cut through the noise.
Yep.
And I saw very few legacy stories that said anything important about this. They all categorized it as a Republican versus Democrat battle.
That's what they categorized it as. And of course, Republicans were sucked into it too at the very beginning. But Trump saw through it all, and he's been against it ever since. And of course, some people, sometimes he says things that he makes it sound like he supports these vaccines, but I don't think he really does.
How about I'm open to that, but I do think he's always been in favor of Operation Warp Speed, and he never demanded the mandates. He was removed from office before it got to that point. So I'll give you that.
Fauci was the one who basically created up that Operation Light Speed or whatever it was.
Warp Speed.
Warp Speed. He's the one who created that and gave those words to Trump.
And I accept that. I guarantee you, Fauci is an evil man.
Oh yeah. He lies, and so you can't believe a single word he says. People don't believe Fauci, don't believe anything he's said in the past. If you did believe it, then I'm sorry, but you were lied to. And if you took the poison, then you're going to probably die a lot sooner than you expected.
My only concern about this story is flat out. The Americans are beginning to understand what happened to them 6 years ago.
Yeah.
The Canadians might not understand this yet.
True. The Canadians are, yes, my doctor told me to do this. That's what my mom says. My doctor told me to do this. And I'm sitting there, your doctor lied.
Yeah. Or the doctor didn't know better. The doctor kept his job by following the edicts of the health service.
Well, yeah. Those who want to keep their job basically followed.
And we have 24 very capable, very competent, very independent doctors that I can name off the top of my head who lost their jobs by going out on a limb and coming down against this, even though in retrospect that many have continued with their research and many have been proven right in things like the Pfizer documents, which Pfizer wrote, not bad people who didn't like Pfizer.
Yeah, so I realize that.
Yeah, so I don't know where this is going to go, but I'm damn glad it's starting to come out at least a little bit.
Yes, and it's a long time coming as far as I'm concerned. This should have come out within a year after everything started.
They should have come out during the pandemic. The information should have been out by the time of the trucker convoy.
That's
The
right.
truckers got thrown in jail because nobody accepted the documented evidence coming out into the public at the time.
Because that was misinformation and disinformation. That's what it was categorized as. And it was the
Yeah,
truth.
the court decided that anything the government says is prima facie true, and it didn't need to be proved.
Yep. So
I don't know.
that was one of those things that, I mean, we were fighting that way back when.
Yeah.
And of course, back in 2020, when the first gatherings occurred down at Edworthy Park in Calgary, there was only maybe a dozen of us people there.
Yeah.
And within weeks, we were already going into the bigger parks because we had more people in more centralized parks where there was more parking. So we had more people. It was just growing, like it was growing so fast.
I remember an event in May 2021, I believe it was, in Montreal, where I was covering a protest march that everybody assured me wasn't taking place. And I set up my camera on a tripod and I kept it locked in the same position. And the protest marchers went by me 10 deep every foot for an hour and a half till my battery ran down. That's an awful lot of people.
Yep. Yeah, I was running into the same issues too. They weren't quite as big a crowd because we didn't have that big of a population in Calgary.
Yeah.
But the thing is we did have the gatherings were quite massive, and they did grow to where they would take the entire both lanes of a road and the sidewalks.
Yeah.
And the police had to basically protect the protesters from the idiots who were on the side.
And I remember the journalists who were 500 feet away with telephoto lens saying they could only see a dozen or so.
I know. We had global news there, and they were always videoing where the crowd wasn't.
Yeah.
If they turned their cameras around, they would have been gathering wonderful groups of people.
Yeah, but their job wasn't to find groups of people. Their job was to show how nobody was there.
That's right. That's exactly it. So who's really telling the truth? The journalists that want to show everything and do their other research, or is it their bosses that say, no, our bosses told us that we're not allowed to do that?
I would say both sides are prostitutes after a point.
Yeah.
Shall we go on to the next piece before we rage against this all night?
Yeah, okay, that's it.
Here's our next piece tonight. And let me pull it up. Also in the news this week, as outlined in the July 30th CTV News Post, Supreme Court says, here we go, judicial review of ethics ruling in Trudeau case can proceed. And according to this story, Canada's Supreme Court has unanimously ruled that a not-for-profit called Democracy Watch can pursue a court challenge of a federal ethics report on Justin Trudeau's involvement in decisions regarding the We Charity. That was, I believe, 2017, 2018. Anyway, he made those decisions to give the We Charity government contracts while he was prime minister. And according to the story, no, my apologies. May 2021. On May 2021, then Federal Ethics Commissioner Mario Dion concluded that Trudeau, who was prime minister at the time, did not breach the conflict of interest laws when he participated in decisions concerning We Charity, which operated in Canada and abroad. Now, the Liberal government chose We Charity in 2020 to administer a multi-million-dollar program to encourage students to volunteer for COVID-19 pandemic-related community service. Encouraging people to wear masks, encouraging people to socially distance, to never leave their house, all sorts of other really important and wholesome things. However, controversy followed due to the Trudeau family's obvious and overt links to the We Charity. Trudeau had participated in 8 WE events since 2007, and his wife had been an honorary ambassador for the charity for a period of time as well. She got a lot of money from it. Trudeau's mother and brother also had taken part in paid activities for the WE charity. Now, Trudeau acknowledged publicly he should have recused himself from government decision-making on this matter because of an appearance of a conflict of interest. Now, it's worth noting that Democracy Watch is a Canadian-based nonprofit that advocates for democratic reform, government accountability, and corporate responsibility. And they applied in June 2021 to perform a judicial review of Dion's ruling in the Federal Court of Appeal. They said there's lots of errors of law regarding the commissioner's interpretation of the act and an obvious error of fact about the former prime minister's relationship with at least one of the WE charity founders. And Democracy Watch thought that Trudeau did more than give the appearance of a conflict of interest. He was obviously in conflict of interest. The judicial review that Democracy Watch and a lot of Canadian citizens want can now finally move forward. And frankly, it's about time. There are dozens of more scandals to deal with after this, just in the Trudeau years. This is even before we get to the Carney years. Richard, what's your comments?
That money that they made, the Trudeau family made with the WE charities, that's unbelievable. How can they do that?
I quite easily. They pocket it. Everybody looks the other way. Even the federal ethics report. Even Dion, Mario Dion. Everybody's decided that this is just the way life works.
Yeah, and that's not the way it's supposed to work. There's so much stuff. One of the things I keep commenting about is whenever they're giving money away to the Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
What about the people that are on the street in Canada? How about giving them the money instead?
No, I agree with that. You and I have talked about this before. Money for the Ukraine goes through Chrystia Freeland, who used to be the deputy prime minister, and it's laundered. It goes out to just everybody who wants to put their hand in the till. It doesn't really go for weapons.
No. It just goes, hey, I'll take some of that. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, Zelensky gets some. I read a story the last week about how Zelensky's wife was caught wearing a brooch that probably was stolen from the Louvre 6 months ago.
Very likely.
Freeland is making out like gangbusters, working for Oxford, working for the WEF, doing all sorts of meet and greets with a whole bunch of important people. These are crooks, and the WE charity was the first of the Liberal government scandals, and it didn't even get to court till 3 or 4 years after it happened, and now it's like another 5 or 6 years later. My concern is that everybody, even the youthful Justin Trudeau, will be dead and buried by the time we have a judgment.
Yep, that's unfortunate, but that's the way it is. And what I'm frustrated about is seeing all this money that's being pocketed by people who don't deserve it.
I would say they don't. They have convinced us that they are legitimate leaders to guide us on the right path. And I don't think that's a good thing. Fauci in the States, Trudeau in Canada, Carney in Canada. I think we should. When I was a kid, my dad used to tell me that every 5 or 10 years or so, you really should throw the bums out so they don't get too comfortable with their power and just, I don't know. I think we should kick everybody out.
What's interesting is that we're not talking about Trump and what he's doing to become very wealthy.
I used to like Trump. In his first term, he actually lost money. But this time out, he's making out like gangbusters. He made $1 trillion so far.
Yes, I know, because of the fact that he's He's got his own private crypto company. He's got his own private social media company.
Mm-hmm.
So he's got everything that he's basically built up, and he's being completely honest about it. He's not keeping it silent. Everything is labeled Trump.
I would argue I'm a bit cynical about this, but I would say you're right. He's being reasonably transparent.
Yep.
He's not quite as bad as some of the politicians in government. The Ocasio-Cortez, who didn't have enough money from her waitress job to find a place to live when she first got elected. She's now worth like $10 million, which is a lot of savings on $100,000 a year.
Yeah, exactly. So
she's been in government for 5 years. So yeah,
she's been having a lot of people contributing to her lifestyle.
Absolutely, in exchange for her votes, no doubt.
Yep. Yeah. So I'll vote for your whatever you want. Doesn't matter if it craps on people. They don't count. I'll make sure that it gets through, and you get the pocket the money.
And she's still, young and photogenic. She can still wear the nice suits, and she's got a couple of good decades left in her. She'll be a billionaire when she's done.
Yeah. Unless, of course, Trump is able to reverse all that.
Yeah, if Ocasio-Cortez gets turfed out of office, I'm sort of hoping that'll happen at some point.
Well, there's the other thing too, is that entire system is collapsing and Trump is destroying it.
Yeah, I've heard that too. Tell me more.
Well, we've always known that they were criminals that were being put into those places, into those positions where they can control who gets money, how much money, and all that stuff.
Yeah, the criminality is so overt that they had to pass laws excusing themselves from the need to not break any of them.
Exactly. That was a pretty big deal, actually.
Yeah, but it's all forgotten now. It's all forgotten.
No, actually, Trump is not letting it go. I think he's going to continue to push for it to get that to be destroyed completely.
I hope he does. He's got 2 years left and only a couple of months before an election,
where he might lose the ability to pass things very quickly.
That was my thought, yes.
There's a chance that he might, but I have a feeling that all this talk about him losing anything is just being manufactured by the Democrats just to cause some sort of panic in the system.
I hope so. I'm willing to wait and see what actually happens.
Exactly, yeah.
Want to go on to our next piece?
Sure.
This one is particularly offensive to me. I was in the military for a couple of years. I was in the reserves. I was a private. Then I became a second lieutenant. The most stupid and junior officer you can get. But the Canadian Armed Forces has implemented a new policy that bans religious prayer and any references to God during official military ceremonies and public events. Now, as outlined in the July 29th National Defense press release under the title Canadian Armed Forces Military Personnel Instructions 326, Spiritual Reflections in Military Settings. Now, according to this document, the new directive applies to all Canadian Armed Forces members, Department of National Defense employees, all contractors, and all volunteers engaged in offering any sort of spiritual or religious services for the Canadian Armed Forces. Now, the policy mandates that should any of these sorts of events occur, chaplains and others must deliver a spiritual reflection, which is defined as reflecting on lessons learned, beliefs, values, and experiences to inspire gratitude, remembrance, hope, and integrity. On the other side of things, don't just talk about God. Don't make any specific religious references focused on a specific perspective. In essence, the Lord can no longer have any mercy on our souls if we're in the Canadian Armed Forces. Now, the directive applies to all events connected to official government business that Canadian Armed Forces members are mandated to attend. This includes graduation parades, change of command ceremonies, honors and awards ceremonies, and this part particularly annoys me, Remembrance Day ceremonies. Now, the new directive supersedes an earlier policy in 2023 that only specified that chaplains had to adhere to a sensitive and inclusive approach during official ceremonies. The new directive sets out exceptions where religious and spiritual language is permitted, and these include allowances for indigenous practices that include spiritual beliefs, because those things are still permitted in military settings for cultural, historical, and educational purposes. Don't say God be praised. Don't talk about the Trinity or the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. Don't talk about any of that stuff. Now, according to the July 31st Peckford 24 post. This is the personal blog of Brian Peckford, one of the original signers of Confederation in I think it was Prince Edward Island in 1949. Now, according to the post, Canadian military expands prayer ban in official settings with new directive applying to all personnel. After being told by multiple MPs we will never be kept from praying, well, now all Canadian Armed Forces members are required to adopt secularism as the official religion of the Canadian Armed Forces publicly. Now, the post quotes several anonymous Canadian Armed Forces chaplains, one of which notes, they invoke the Charter, which is supposed to protect religious freedom, in order to cancel religious freedom. Someone else said, and then they have the audacity to claim that this policy enhances the chaplain's ability to serve the needs of Canadian Armed Forces members when it is severe and has obvious restrictions. Good Lord, Richard. Am I even allowed to say good Lord Richard anymore?
Well, you can refer to me as a Lord.
Lord Richard.
Yep. That's really getting ridiculous. And you know what I see happening now?
What?
They're getting rid of the Roman Catholic references, the Bible, Rome, and all that stuff. And they're going to replace it with Muslim.
They may. They're getting rid of Protestant references as well.
Yep.
I don't know how they're possibly going to remember Remembrance Day appropriately, since every speech I've ever seen on Remembrance Day references God having mercy on their soul.
Yep. Yep. And I'm not a heavy follower of religion anymore.
Okay. And that's fair.
But the thing is, though, is that I don't say you can't do that. I just say you do what you want, but don't force it on me.
Yes.
Okay. Don't tell me that that's what I got to do. No, I won't do that.
I would argue that there are Protestant chaplains. I would argue that there are Catholic chaplains, Jewish chaplains, maybe even a couple of Muslim chaplains, Hindi, a lot of chaplains, a lot of different faiths who are being forced to renounce their faith.
Yeah,
so I don't know where this story goes, but I did see a story just as we were going on air, talking about how the Carney government they didn't do this. It was a Canadian Forces only policy. Carney didn't do this. No, Carney didn't do this.
Yeah, I know, but of course, China doesn't allow the worshiping of God either, or anything.
I
So,
have noticed that.
is China stepping in and making these things, or is because of the fact that they have this influence in the military? I don't know.
I don't know. We've talked about that a lot. Who's to say where this came from? Nobody is willing to cop to it today.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I don't know where we go. Want to go on to our next piece?
Yes.
This one is a goodie. This is the August 31st wiretap media post under the title of "The Risk Remains: How India Controls Canada's Telecom Backbone." And that post notes that the Canadian telecom infrastructure, especially the part owned by telecom giant Ericsson Canada and maintained by the Rogers Communication National Wireless Network, has been outsourced to India. Now, the post went on to note the obvious. India now controls large portions of Canada's telecom infrastructure. The post also notes that the outsourcing creates clear risks of espionage, sabotage, and delayed emergency responses. And the legislation even seems to have bypassed, or the contract, seems to have even bypassed Canada's Bill C-8, the amendments to the Telecommunications Act, which were passed because they were intended to secure Canada's telecommunications system from outside interference. Now, the wiretap media post references something called India's Information Technology Act of 2000. This is an act that's 25, 26 years old now, but it was amended principally in 2008. And this legislation contains several provisions that create direct compulsion obligations for anyone involved performing computer resource computer maintenance. So, near as I can tell, because Ericsson outsourced for decades. What were you saying, Richard?
Yeah, the India's had access to that stuff for a long time, so it's no big deal.
No big deal, because they know about it anyway.
That's right. Yeah. So as far as I'm concerned, it's a non-issue. I used to work in the telecom industry. I used to work for Nortel, and I used to work for Agate. Everybody got telephone, AGT. And of course, I knew how the systems worked.
Yeah.
And it was easy to do tapping and monitor calls. I could plug into anybody's active phone line and listen in on their conversation they would not even know I was there.
I would say that's absolutely correct.
Yep.
There's some fairly substantial information indicating that Chinese telecommunications company Hawaii stole all of the Northern Telecom IP in the late 90s, early 2000s. That they also installed a lot of Chinese infrastructures in Canadian telecommunications, and any access that India has, China has as well, and probably the US as well.
Yeah, Nortel did a lot of nasty things. They didn't do their business. They weren't very honorable.
Maybe not. They got squished.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and when I was working for them, it was great because I was learning all about the new digital multi-switching system that they had designed. So I knew that very well.
Oh, wow.
But the thing is that the company itself all of a sudden started to go downhill. I don't know what happened, but they lost a lot of their contracts.
Oh, wow.
Yep. So
I kind of heard that Hawaii undercut. They had access to the servers and the emails of Northern Telecom executives, and they undercut the pricing, and that's why Northern Telecom lost its contracts.
Yep. Yeah. It was unfortunate, but hey, I mean, it was fun to work for that company when I did work for the company. But I did start to see the management not being just wasn't right. There was something
Okay.
that wasn't right. So when I ended up quitting, and I went to everybody got telephone AGT. I went there, and I was surprised as to how they had all these wonderful courses that I had to go through, and of course I sailed through them all because I knew everything that was in there. So they put me on some other courses afterwards, and I was able to correct them. The courses were not quite right. So anyways, technically right. So anyways, I went through quite a bit of stuff there when I was working in the telecom industry.
Yeah.
And I learned a lot, and it was really a lot of fun.
Time flies when you're having fun.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Nowadays, it's completely transparent. You don't even need these high security buildings anymore for the switching systems because it's all done. It's all done through the internet protocols.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I would venture to say if you were starting out in computers these days, you would go to an AI company.
Yeah.
And I would suggest they're in the process of crashing and burning. If you want, we can go on to our next piece and learn a bit more.
Yep. Okay.
Now, as noted in the, come on, there it is. As noted in the July 30th, 2026 Epoch Times, under the title, Anthropic says its Claude AI model hijacked the systems of 3 organizations. Now, that story talks about how artificial intelligence developer Anthropic issued a press release on July 30th saying that it had discovered instances in which its artificial intelligence model, Claude, gained unauthorized access to the systems of 3 organizations during cybersecurity testing. Now, I think this is a fascinating story. I think it's really important. I think it's something we need to delve in deeper about. Unfortunately, there seems to be no way of independently verifying what actually happened. We are mostly limited to Anthropic's account of what happened. And that account is the July 30th Anthropic press release under the title, Investigating 3 Real-World Incidents in Our Cybersecurity Evaluations. A competitor, the July 30th Axios Post, they're a news outlet favored by Donald Trump these days. They wrote about the article. They insist they had received independent validation of the breaching from a company called Irregular, which used to be called Pattern Lab. That's why it's so hard to find on the internet. Anyway, it's an Israeli AI secret security startup that provides third-party evaluation platforms and testing for advanced AI models, cybersecurity capabilities, and risks. Now they are a partner with Anthropic, and they're both basically the same companies. So, but at least they validate each other. My concern is that the 3 compromised organizations are unnamed, and they haven't come forward to confirm the story. And as outlined in the July 28th, 2026 Futurism Post, right up there, under the title, Suspicion Grows About OpenAI's Tale About Its Rogue Hacker AI. 2 weeks before Anthropic issued its press release saying that their AI had escaped and gone rogue, OpenAI issued a press release saying exactly the same thing. And everybody is starting to think that these AI breakouts, as they're called, are done in a familiar pattern. A massive tech company essentially using scare tactics to manipulate public opinion and avoid a stock crash. If somebody says, if a press release says our product is so powerful that it's escaping from us, everybody in the stock market says, oh, wow, I could buy more stocks. They're going to be really good next month. So I'm concerned if everybody's saying their AI pieces are going rogue. I think they're starting to lie. I think this is really sketchy. And as outlined in posts like the July 29th, 2026 Marketplace post, under the title, What Happens If the AI Bubble Pops? Well, an awful lot of organizations will crash and burn when the AI market corrects itself. Richard, are you a fan of AI?
Not really right now, because they're not following the rules that the technical people designed in the white papers. But 30 years ago, 40 years ago,
Yeah. What were the rules?
Basically, it's not to do any harm at all to any human.
Yeah, I can see that. My understanding is that a lot of those guardrails were taken away because so many of the contracts from the U.S. government to roll out AI products have to do with putting them in robots to kill people.
Yeah, kill people very effectively.
Yeah,
with as few bullets as possible.
I find that I've noticed a problem with AI programs I sometimes use to collect research. I've noticed they're getting worse and worse at collecting independent data.
Yep.
I think that's because, when they're trained on people, they get one type of data collected. But if they're trained on what's on the internet these days, half of it is AI slop. So they get worse and worse and more awful.
Yeah, and of course they're citing themselves. AI is citing themselves as sources of information,
which is the dumbest thing in the world.
They're manufacturing their own data,
and they're manufacturing their own little bubble in an effort to try and keep their stock prices up.
Yeah. AI. I guess AI has become the way to make a lot of money, from what I'm seeing.
Well, I kind of think it's going to crash and burn at some point.
It will.
I think when Anthropic goes public, which is in October, that'll be the peak of the market. SpaceX got away with a huge public offering, and Musk got rich, but I don't see Anthropic doing the same thing.
Yeah. Well, of course, there's too many things going against it now. Too many AIs that know that they can make changes very quickly in the system.
I've also noted articles from China about their distributed AIs that don't scoop up information from the internet until they go searching for them. And evidently, those have begun outperforming the American centralized AI that requires server farms.
Right.
Which is sort of what I thought would happen, but the Americans are locked into their methodology. They're going to crash and burn. I can feel it.
This, could destroy the entire economic system of the world.
It could. That's because so much growth money has gone into AI over the last 5 years. Everything else is just stagnating and waiting for AI to suck up all the money.
Well, what's interesting is that AI is making the investments, and they're sucking the money from various places and putting it in. It's not people, it's AI.
Now, tell me more, because that's something I didn't know.
Yeah, the AI is able to find all of this money, and it routes it to invest it into its own systems.
Oh, wow. AI is hunting down its own financing.
Well, yeah, and it's easy to do. I mean, you could do it too and get your own financing. Of course,
I probably could. It's easy enough to build a bot these days.
Yeah,
and to go and hunt down financing.
The thing is, though, is that AI can do it so much faster.
Yeah. I sort of agree with that, but that, I don't know, it's still going to crash.
Yep.
It'll be like the stock market in what was it, 87 crashing because the micro transactions that were supposed to keep everything going, they crashed and burned themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't know. I don't know where we're going next. But AI, I wouldn't put my money in it.
Well, we're not going very far because of the WestJet flight attendant.
I didn't even have a story on that. It's worth mentioning quickly that WestJet is on strike. It's crashing and burning.
It went like midnight last night. It's just like instantly. They were out.
Yeah, I know. I didn't want to talk about it. We have so many. That's the legacy news bailiwick. Do a story on striking unions, because both sides do press releases. It's an easy story to tell. Who cares what the truth is?
Yeah. And then in some other news, I've just been watching here as we're doing the show here. I'm watching Global News.
Oh wow!
Trump has basically put on hold any attacks to Iran right now.
He does that every weekend.
I know.
But I think it's good. He really, really, really badly wants a path out of there.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I've heard stories that the oil reserve runs out next week.
I've heard different stories about that, but we'll see.
Yeah, nobody knows for sure. It will run out at some point. It may not run out to next week.
Oh man, it'll just magically appear again. Some more of the reserves.
I believe the reserves will appear, and I do agree with you about the Russian theory of oil being a fairly natural process that rebuilds itself fairly quickly.
That's right, it's a natural mineral.
Yeah, but by the same token, somebody's got to dig it out of the ground, and the Americans, nobody's doing that right now.
It just needs to produce itself again, replenish itself.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Anyway, I agree. It's a strange world we live in. Shall we go on to our next piece? We got 3 more to go. Quick.
Oh, okay.
Sorry about that. I wrote too much this week. Now, 6 days ago, let me see if I got that. Oops. Sorry about that. I'm having some trouble with my buttons.
It's okay. I'm watching a storm come in.
Yeah, okay. Here we go. I think we made fun of Rogers, and since I'm on the Rogers network, our internet's fucking up. Now, this is a story we covered once or twice in the past. It's got to do with all those laws the Ottawa government is passing to give money to legacy news outlets. Now, as outlined in the July 28th, The Wire post, under the title Ottawa Scrapping the Base Contribution Requirements of U.S. Streamers, the Liberal Party has changed their mind and are preparing to eliminate base funding requirements for U.S. companies under the 2024 Online Streaming Act. Now, beginning in 2024, the Canadian Radio, Television, and Telecommunications Commission required all large, unaffiliated online streaming services, mostly Americans, mostly with more than $25 million in annual Canadian broadcasting revenues, mostly Netflix, mostly Amazon, mostly Apple, mostly Disney Plus, and mostly Spotify. They all had to pay 5% of the Canadian revenues towards Canadian and Indigenous content, news and related items, things like that. But in May 2026, the CRTC raised the programming expenditure from 5% to 15%, incorporating with an extra 10% overall. Now, the move was projected to generate a whole bunch of money, substantial new funding of about $2 billion annually that would go into the legacy media ecosystem. But the CRTC decision to just up the price, the taxes that distributors had to pay was not popular. It faced immediate backlash, primarily because of U.S. trade pressure and legal challenges from groups like the Motion Picture Association of Canada and, frankly, the Motion Picture Association of America. Now, rather than killing the bill, the Carney Liberals will now pay out themselves the 15% of the distributors' Canadian revenue, and they will pay for it through increasing our taxes. Now, this represents a significant rollback of media funding support mechanisms. And the Canadian government has been rolling out this stuff since 2019. There is expected to come a formal policy direction from the CRTC sometime in the next little while. But I don't know. Maybe everything else will roll back now that the Carney Liberals have figured out that nobody wants to pay for Canadian content in the legacy media. Richard?
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, that's they're stupid. They're just completely stupid in the way that they present these things, and they come up with these ideas. Where are their brains?
I don't know. But the idea that they have this long plan organized and they want 5%, and then they wake up one morning and they need another 10%, and then they say, "Oh my God, we made a mistake. We're going to cancel the whole damn thing."
Yep, yeah, it's just completely dumb. It's
Yeah, that suggests to me the Carney Liberals are flailing about.
Yeah, carnage is just destroying everything.
Yeah, here's another story. This one is BC focused, but this is another media story. And according to this, 6 days ago, as outlined in the July 27th Media Bezirgan post, banned from all hospitals for a journalistic inquiry regarding a suspended foreign doctor. Now, that's a post by independent Albertan journalist Moshe Bezirgan, who posted that he had been banned from every Alberta Health Service hospital for a year after walking in and nicely asking to obtain an interview with an Alberta-based doctor who used to be from South Africa. He was suspended in South Africa and accused of negligence over the death of a baby. So he, instead of answering the charges, he came to Canada and started over. Now, according to the Post, Bezirgan was doing his due diligence as a journalist, attempting to extend the doctor the opportunity to present his side of the story. And I think that's fair. He looks like a little kid, but my understanding is that he's a recent immigrant as well. Now, the story itself could have died quietly, but Bezirgan obtained the help of the Canadian Constitutional Foundation. And the July 31st Canadian Constitutional Foundation press release under the title of Province-Wide Ban on Journalists Prompts Chinese Warning or Charter Warning from the CCF. And the press release notes that the CCF has written to Alberta Health Services demanding it immediately rescind a province-wide trespass notice that bars independent journalist Moshe Bezirgan from every AHS facility until March 2027. And I like this story because the effect of the Canadian Constitution Foundation press release is to keep this story in the public eye, changes its focus a bit away from a doctor and immigration into Canada and how easy it is, and moves it towards Alberta Health Services overreach. What do you think, Richard?
I agree. It is an overreach. That is completely illegal as far as I'm concerned. In their world, it's legal. It's unlawful. He's not being allowed to be a man.
Yeah.
To go out and work a job and earn income because of the fact some idiot has decided that this is the case. He's a danger.
According to the press release, he went in, he asked about the doctor. The guy's, the desk clerk said he works here, but you can't have an interview with him. And then Bezirgan went out into the parking lot to wait for the guy to leave. And then the front desk clerk noted that, and he was banned from all Alberta Health Services locations that day. The original interview. Yeah?
He doesn't have a doctor anymore, so he'll die.
Yeah. Well, he can always go to Saskatchewan, I suppose.
I suppose, yeah.
So I don't know. This is I like this. This shows the power of independent journalists.
That's right. Yeah.
One more quick post, 2 minutes from me. The July 31st City News on YouTube post under the title "Number of Fires Area Burned Trending Below 10-Year Average Despite Explosive Growth." This is a satisfying piece, even as most of us already understand what's going on. I think it's about BC, and we're going to run it quickly.
With out-of-control wildfires continuing to threaten a number of communities across the province, BC's wildfire season has taken an explosive turn over the past month, which an incoming cold front isn't expected to slow down.
We are anticipating that this will cause growth on many of our current incidents, as well as bring some lightning, which could cause some new incidents this weekend as well.
30 separate evacuation orders covering hundreds of properties remain in effect, with some orders in the Squamish, Lillooet, and Thompson-Nicola regional districts expanding Friday. And with hot, dry, and gusty conditions expected to prevail for weeks to come, the province has asked for help to get things under control.
Over the next coming weeks, we're expecting an influx of resources from Alberta, Yukon, Quebec, as well as Mexico.
But despite the frightening speed at which some of these fires have grown, if you zoom out, the province is actually faring relatively well. According to UBC Centre for Wildfire Coexistence, the severity of BC's wildfire seasons has actually been trending downwards in recent years. Now, that's relative to a peak in 2023, which saw an area roughly equivalent to Vancouver Island burned at a cost of more than $1 billion. Now, last season, we only saw about a third of that area burned at half the cost. And the numbers this year appear to be even lower.
We are currently below in both wildfires and hectares burned compared to the 10-year average.
Data from the BC Wildfire Service suggests the 232,000 hectares burned so far this year represents a 68% decrease compared to the same time last year. But that's small comfort for those communities with disaster breathing down their necks. Officials say whether it's by obeying evacuation orders.
These aren't put into place on a whim. There's a lot of thought and a lot of collaboration that goes into this with the local governments. Pay attention. Please take them seriously. They're not just a suggestion.
Or respecting campfire bans. Everybody has a role to play in making sure this fire season doesn't get any worse. Jack Rabb, City News, Vancouver.
Richard?
Yep, we're in a pretty good spot right now. There's no forest fires in this area. Kelowna has some fear of it, but Vernon is currently both the entrances to Vernon, north and south, on the 97 apparently are closed off. You can't get in or out. Well, you can get in, but you can get out, but you can't go back in. Let's put it that way.
What about the acknowledgement that despite the PR about the fires, there's actually fewer of them this year?
Yeah, there are. There are actually fewer. I get up every once in a while in the morning. There's a couple of mornings there where you can smell smoke in the air.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's gone. So and there's not a lot of wind to blow it around, to blow it away. It's just basically just stops smelling like smoke. Although when I go to the grocery store today, one of the ladies working behind the counter said that the smoke is really bugging her. And I says, I'm not smelling any bit of that smoke.
Oh, wow.
So there might be some smoke in the air, but I'm not smelling it.
Fair enough. Maybe we're just hale and hearty and able to survive.
Right. Yeah.
Shall we go on to our last piece?
Yeah, that's mine, isn't it?
Absolutely. This one's a good one. Cue us up for it.
What was it again? I can't remember the title.
This was the listen to this video, all the accomplishments that Royal Raymond Rife came up with.
Yes, and Royal, his name Royal is my grandfather's name too. But Rife,
Oh, wow.
yes, Rife I've been following for about 20 years now. And designed a machine or a microscope, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So powerful that it just basically destroys everything that they've got now. And of course, anything that you're using now would be an electron microscope, which destroys anything that you're trying to look at. So his microscope does not destroy anything. It actually allows living organisms to be magnified.
Let's take a look at the piece. I found it fascinating the first time through. Here we go.
This man was Royal Raymond Rife, and he was a medical prodigy. At the ripe age of 16, he knew that he wanted to be a doctor, and everything was going fine until it wasn't. For an example of his genius, in the 1920s, most microscopes could only magnify up to 2,000 times. Rife invented a microscope that could magnify objects up to 60,000 times. Where his story takes a turn for the worse is Rife had an idea. He realized that everything has a frequency. So if he could identify the frequencies of certain ailments in the body, schmancer, and you match that frequency, it would vibrate intensely because of all that energy and essentially explode. For example, this is why you can break glass with your voice. It's not that you're hitting a high frequency or a high tone. If you match the frequency that the glass makes, that will absorb all of that energy and it explodes. He started experimenting with these frequencies. He found frequencies that could target anthrax, pneumonia, typhoid, and he noticed that these frequencies would not harm the healthy tissue. He injected rats with schmancer cells. They had golf ball-sized tumors, then used his machine to match the cancer's mortal oscillatory rate. And guess what happened? The rats became schmancer-free. You see, he thought he had it all figured out, but life has other plans. His experiments attracted the attention of other doctors. He conducted a trial on 16 schmancer patients. In 3 months, 14 of the 16 were completely schmancer-free. That's right, medically cured. It's going to ruin his life. Rife used his machine 400 times on animal tumors, and every single time it worked. Doctors across the country were taking notice. His research commanded attention. Rife's findings caught the attention of Morris Fishbein, who was the head of the American Medical Association. Fishbein offered to buy Rife out, and Rife said no. Fishbein did not take too kindly to this. Rife continued his work and started having people showing up to his labs. Some would offer bribes, some would mess around with things, others would threaten him. Other doctors started practicing Rife's techniques and were having great success, but they were pressured by the American Medical Association to stop or else they would lose their licenses. Fishbein launched a campaign of medical assassination against Rife. There were articles in medical journals completely slandering his name. Rife was constantly harassed. His lab was constantly vandalized. His machines broke. Fishbein even went to one of the investors in Rife's company and offered to fund him so that there were multiple lawsuits, and his time was spent fighting lawsuits. Here's what you need to know about the American Medical Association. In the 1900s, there were 2 types of healers: allopathic doctors and alternative healers. Allopathic means they treat things with pharmaceutical. Alternative healing, they use natural remedies. The issue was because anybody could claim to be a healer, many people did. People preferred the alternative healers because it was easier to afford and it was more accessible. So allopathic doctors weren't making any money. So they formed a trade union called the American Medical Association. Its job was to protect its members and make sure that medical professionals had a lucrative profession. Essentially, the AMA was created so doctors can make more money. In fact, the pulling of alternative medicine out of medical schools is directly linked to the AMA requesting it. They went to all these medical schools, told them they had to pull alternative methods, otherwise they would lose their funding and their credibility. The AMA had massive control over pharmaceuticals, who would get funding, what pharmaceuticals were. Published into the journal of the AMA, the most important factor, they didn't test drugs, they didn't test for efficacy. As long as you paid, you got in. Oh, and the leaders, by the way, they would buy stock in those drug companies before they released the findings. No issues there. Oh, you want to know who was behind the smoking campaign saying that doctors smoked? It's because other doctors were saying how unhealthy it was, and the AMA came out and said no. Why? Because they were invested in it. Here's the thing about Fishbein, the leader of the AMA. He never received a diploma. He never practiced medicine. He never treated a patient. He was so focused on making money and not treating people that in 1949 he was thrown out of the AMA. Unfortunately for Rife, it was too late. See, because of all the attacks, because of all the slander and everything coming after his name, he ended up leaving and retiring from being a doctor. He turned to alcohol as a coping method. 20 years he did nothing, but there was renewed interest, and so these doctors came to him saying, hey, can you rebuild this machine? He rebuilt it. Shortly after they started the venture, their labs were seized. All equipment, all records, gone. Doctors that worked with Rife charged with medical fraud. He had 14 patients in that trial testify that they were cured by the machine. The 2 doctors that worked with Rife were still sentenced to prison. Oh, the foreperson of the jury? Part of the AMA. Once again, Rife was labeled as a quack, as a faker, as a charlatan, and he was reduced to poverty. Many of Rife's colleagues that were working on similar things, let's just say, had interesting demises. Some were poisoned. Some burned alive in their labs. A bunch of random occurrences. It's interesting because in the modern time, there's renewed interest. You can see TED Talks that talk about using resonant frequencies to attack cancer. Here, how you use sound waves to destroy cancer. This comment is 100% correct. Before we can cure disease, we must find a cure for greed. The saddest thing about this story is that in this world, we keep having these people who are born that are geniuses that can solve the world's problems. Then we have other people who need more money, they need more power. Because of this, they ruin the system for everybody else. Just think where we would be at if this research was unfettered and continued to grow and we could build upon it.
Sorry about that. I usually get rid of the TikTok.
Yeah, that's okay. Fascinating piece.
It is. It is. And I have been following Rife for a long time. I've ordered my own little Calminity machine.
Okay.
Surprisingly, it comes from China, and I was expecting it to be on a slow boat to China. Well, it got into the system, and it's basically got flown over here. It showed up in Toronto this week, and it's in right now. It's in BC, Richmond, BC.
So it's going to be there over the next day or so.
Well, Tuesday was our next mail delivery, so I might make it by then.
Very cool.
And
I hope you try it. I hope you give us a heads up next Sunday, on how it worked out for you.
Yeah, and I just want to try different frequencies. They talk about the other big thing about this story is that when they destroyed the information, Rife had gotten all of his frequency charts and everything else out of there.
Oh wow!
So most of them, anyways. So anyways, all the good ones, he kept them.
Okay.
And I think those frequencies are just starting to come out now because those
There
documents
is,
are.
Yeah, I was going to put up just a Google search on Royal Raymond Rife just beside it.
Yep.
And frankly, it's just huge amounts of data on the man. He's very popular these days. And there's a number of electromagnetic technologies being tested out in a variety of places, including Toronto, that are in the midst of reproving what he happened to figure out first, I guess over 100 years ago at this point.
Yep. Yeah. The other thing is that it's not just the audio frequencies. They're the ones that are most popular ones and easiest ones to be created.
Yeah.
But there's also the light ones where there's light tubes that you hang on to.
Okay.
And they create frequencies and go into your body and basically destroy the bad cells, the bad diseases, whatever it is.
I think based on the performance of allopathic medicine during the COVID pandemic, the world is ripe for looking at options. At least I hope so.
It's the homeopathic medicine that you want to deal with, not the allopathic.
The allopathic isn't just pills. It's also scalpels and saws. And as I recall, allopathic medicine grew up out of the Civil War with traumatic injuries during major battles between the North and the South. So it has its uses, but it was never designed to keep people healthy.
No, it's they want that's because the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds, who basically took over the entire medical system, along with the banking system, all those things, they want complete control.
They want the money.
Yep.
They want to register all the practitioners. And even today, the Canadian government wants to drive the allopathic competitors out of business.
Yep.
So
you mean the homeopathic?
Homeopathic. Yeah, I know. I sometimes get the words wrong. I don't know where we go to next.
Well, we'll wait till next week. When I get my machine, I'll start using it right away.
Absolutely. We look forward to see you. I don't know. You look reasonably healthy now, but it might be wild if suddenly all your hair turns black or something.
All of a sudden, it starts to grow. Actually, there was one of the frequencies they talked about was hair growth.
Oh wow!
So we'll see. I don't really care. I mean, I like being bald. I don't have to pay a barber to cut my hair.
Yeah, that's fair. Barbers are expensive these days.
Yeah.
Anyway, I look forward to talking with you again next week for the sure whoopee of it, but I also will be interested in seeing how the new Royal Rife machine happens to work.
Exactly. Yeah.
Between now and then, what are your plans?
Well, I'm doing a longer show tomorrow. I'm just bringing it up here. Let's see what it is. I got my Mondays and Thursdays are the ones I do longer shows with.
Okay.
Tomorrow is, what's the date tomorrow? Tomorrow is the 3rd. And, oh yeah, the Great Canadian Money Exit.
Uh-oh. What's that about? Give me a hint.
Well, it's describing what's happening with money as far as Canadian stuff goes. It's a 55-minute show.
It's near as I can tell, money's leaving Canada.
It's by Kim Moody. So if you know Kim Moody, then you're going to probably get an idea.
Now I know that Kim's going to talk about money leaving Canada. Yeah.
So and then on Tuesday, let's see now. I've got 8 shows lined up. I think they might even be edited by now. No, not yet. I got to start. I'll start editing those tomorrow morning. Yeah, some throwbacks to the spring of 2019 or 2020. So stories, and then of course, you've been trained to be obedient to a coercive system. It's just
I can see that. Most of us have been.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it is. Anybody whenever I tell them, you just say no to a cop. Oh, no, I can't do that. They'll throw me in jail. No, that's fear. That's just fear. Have no fear. The perfect response to a boss who expects free overtime.
No.
What's that?
The perfect response to the boss who wants overtime is mostly no.
That's right. Yeah. But then, of course, they'll get, I'll probably get fired. The courts are meant to be our servants, guardians of our liberty.
Yes.
That's important. That one guy who actually missed prison. It's a neat story.
Huh.
Yeah, it's I've seen quite a few versions of this in the last little while. Wait till the end on this story. Wait a daggone second. That's the title. Paying to register the same car every year in America. And I talk about this. You only need to register it once. If you were to register it. I say you don't have to register it.
And that's fair. The government will disagree, but you may have a point.
Yeah, no, actually the government can't disagree. I mean, they actually lose a lot of court cases because they try and fight it, but they can't.
Huh. That'll be interesting to learn more about.
That'll be tomorrow's stories. And then Wednesday, of course, I'll take the day off. Thursday is going to be another longer show. And then Friday will be another 8 stories. You
start every Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday at 7:30 p.m. Pacific time?
No, a.m.
AM. Sorry, AM. I guess I'm tired tonight. I think most of your stuff is going out on Twitch these days.
And actually Facebook now.
Twitch and Facebook. Congratulations. It's nice to get your Facebook account back.
Well, somebody finally smartened up and realized that they were losing a lot of money.
I look forward to seeing your stuff. I look forward to seeing you be 30 years younger when you come back next Sunday.
Yeah, okay.
As for Freedom Forum, we normally record every Sunday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on a variety of internet platforms, including the one you are currently watching. And we republish next day with show notes on our Substack page at chuckblack.substack.com. And most of our stories slide behind a paywall after a month online. So if you'd like to maintain access, the easiest thing to do is to sign up for a monthly subscription. $20. There we go. $20 a month, $160 per year. Good stuff. Access to archive posts, anything over a month old, plus lots of in-depth articles not covered in our regular stories. My name is Chuck Black. I directed this show using StreamYards. You can see it up on the screen there, which both Richard and I recommend, but only if you sign up using either Richard's or my link. We get a little bonus out of this at the end of each month to help defray some of our costs. It's not a lot, but it's useful. Now, the show will be up on Substack tomorrow, and we'll be back next Sunday at 8 p.m. with another episode of Last Week Today. Good night, everyone. Richard,
Yep.
Did I miss anything?
No, it was an hour and a half long for this show, but it's worth it.
We were a long one tonight. I hope we had some good topics. I look forward to seeing you next week at 8 p.m.
Sounds good.
Good night.
Good night.